Daniel Voss learned the cost of marriage the summer he turned 13. His uncle Raymond, everyone called him Ray, was the kind of man who filled a room before he spoke. 6'3", barrel chest, voice like gravel wrapped in velvet. He ran the counter at Voss Hardware on Maple Street, the same store his father had opened in 1958. Ray knew every nail gauge, every paint sheen, every customer's first name, and their kid's birthday. He'd slap a $5 bill on the counter for a kid buying a pack of gum and say, "Keep the change, champ." People left smiling. Ray's wife was named Cheryl. Blonde, sharp laugh, always smelled faintly of gardenias. They'd been married 14 years, no kids. Everyone said they didn't need them. Ray and Cheryl were enough for each other. Daniel believed it. He'd seen them at barbecues, Ray flipping burgers one-handed while Cheryl leaned against him, her fingers tracing the back of his neck. They looked permanent. Then the papers came. Daniel was at the house when the process server knocked. Ray opened the door in a faded Metallica t-shirt, still holding a half-eaten ham sandwich. The man in the polo shirt handed him a thick envelope and said the words no one ever wants to hear twice. "You've been served." Ray stood in the doorway for a long time after the man left. The sandwich fell apart in his hand. Mayo dripped onto the welcome mat. He didn't move to clean it. Cheryl had filed for divorce on a Tuesday. Irreconcilable differences. She wanted the house, the 401k, the cabin up north, the dog. She wanted alimony. She wanted half of Ray's life, and she wanted it in writing. The family rallied at first. Daniel's mother brought casseroles. His father offered to pay the lawyer. Cousins texted Ray memes about starting over, but the memes stopped after the first hearing. Cheryl's lawyer painted Ray as a drinker, a workaholic, emotionally unavailable. She had texts, old ones, from nights Ray worked late at the store. She had credit card statements showing bar tabs. She had witnesses who remembered him raising his voice once at a Christmas party in 2009. None of it was a lie. None of it was the whole truth either. Ray fought for 6 months. He lost the house. He lost the dog. He lost the cabin. He kept the hardware store because it was in his name only. But the alimony payment started at $2,800 a month and never dropped. He moved into a one-bedroom above the laundromat on 5th Street. The smell of detergent never left his clothes. Daniel visited every Sunday. Ray would sit in a folding chair by the window watching cars pass below. He didn't laugh anymore. His hands shook when he tried to open a beer. One afternoon, Daniel asked, "Why didn't you fight harder?" Ray looked at him with eyes that had gone dull. "I did fight," he said. "I fought until there was nothing left to fight for. Then I signed, because if I didn't, they'd take the store too, and the store was all I had left." Daniel asked the question that had been burning in him since the day the papers arrived. "Would you do it again?" Ray stared out the window a long time. "No," he said finally, "I wouldn't." He died 2 years later. Heart attack. 49. The obituary was 3 paragraphs. No surviving spouse, no children, just the store, now run by a cousin, and a handful of people who still remembered the man who used to give kids free gum. Daniel was 18 when he stood at Ray's grave. The headstone was simple granite, no epitaph, just name, dates, and a small brass plaque that read, "Beloved brother and uncle." Daniel looked at the dates and thought, 14 years of marriage, 6 months of divorce, 2 years of nothing. He decided then, no marriage, no joint checking account, no shared mortgage, no contract that could be turned into a weapon. He would keep his life small, portable, and entirely his own. For 16 years he kept the promise. He studied civil engineering at state school on a partial scholarship, graduated with honors, took a job at a mid-size firm in Pittsburgh designing highway overpasses and pedestrian bridges. The work was precise. Load tables didn't lie. Steel beams didn't change their mind after 20 years. He liked that. He lived alone in a one-bedroom condo on the 11th floor of a glass building overlooking the Allegheny River. Rent was reasonable. Mortgage was impossible. He refused to buy. He dated when the mood struck, but always with the same quiet rule: I don't do forever. Most women accepted it for 6 months, maybe a year. A few left sooner, none stayed long enough to make him reconsider. Until Mara. She was 31, a landscape architect who specialized in urban green spaces. They met at a conference on sustainable infrastructure, her on a panel about rooftop gardens, him in the audience taking notes on stormwater runoff calculations. After her talk, he approached her at the coffee station. "Your presentation was good," he said. "The green roof load numbers were conservative. You could push the soil depth another 4 inches without exceeding most deck capacities." She raised an eyebrow. "You're an engineer." "Guilty." She smiled. Crooked, quick. "I like conservative. It means the plants live." They talked for 40 minutes. Drainage layers, root barriers, wind uplift. When the next session started, she asked for his card. He gave it. They met for coffee 3 days later, then dinner a week after that, then most nights. Mara never asked about marriage. She asked about bridges, how long they were designed to last, what happened when people overloaded them anyway. She listened when he talked about shear forces and fatigue cracks. She laughed at his dry jokes about concrete curing times. She never pushed. 18 months passed, like water under a span. One Sunday morning in late October, she sat across from him at the kitchen table. Coffee was going cold between them. Outside, the river moved slow and gray. "I want to marry you," she said. Daniel set his mug down. The ceramic clicked against the wood like a small verdict. "I told you from the beginning," he said. "I don't do that." "I know what you said." Her voice was steady, but her fingers tightened around the handle of her cup. "I thought maybe you'd changed your mind." He looked at her, really looked. The woman who had once spent an entire weekend helping him rebuild a model truss bridge on the living room floor, who had laughed when he explained moment distribution in simple terms, who had never once pressured him until this moment. "I haven't," he said. She exhaled through her nose. "You love me." "I do." "Then why isn't that enough?" "Because love isn't a contract," he said, "and contracts can be broken. I watched someone I loved get broken by one." "Ray," she said quietly. She had heard the story several times. "Ray," he confirmed. Mara looked out the window at the river. A barge was moving upstream, slow and deliberate. "I'm not Ray's wife," she said. "I know. I'm not going to take your condo or your savings or your dignity. I know. But I want the same things most people want: a ring, a promise, a shared last name on paper. I want to know we're building something permanent." Daniel felt the old line inside him tighten, the one he had drawn at 16 and never crossed. "I can't give you that," he said. She turned back to him. Her eyes were dry but bright. "Then what can you give me?" "Everything else," he said. "Every day, every night, every argument and every quiet morning. Just not the paper." She studied him for a long moment. "That's not enough for me anymore," she said. The words landed like a dropped beam, solid, final. They sat in silence while the barge passed under the bridge outside. She stood first. "I'll pack tonight." "You don't have to leave tonight." "I do," she said. "If I stay another day, I'll talk myself into accepting less than I want. I don't want to resent you later." He nodded once. She packed a duffel and her laptop, left the houseplant she'd bought, left the second toothbrush, left the half-finished model bridge on the coffee table. At the door, she stopped. "I still love you," she said. "I still love you," he answered. She looked at him like she was memorizing something. Then she left. The condo felt larger after she was gone, quieter. The river kept moving outside. Daniel sat on the couch and stared at the truss bridge model. One of the cross members had come loose during packing. He could fix it in 10 minutes. He didn't. Instead, he walked to the window. The bridge in the distance looked small from here, but he knew its specs by heart. 1,200 feet main span, designed for 100-year floods, load tested to 150% capacity. It had stood through 3 major storms and 2 attempted suicide jumps. It would probably stand another 100 years. He thought about Ray's folding chair, the laundromat smell, the way his uncle's voice had gone quiet forever. He thought about Mara's crooked smile, the way she had once traced the scars on his back and called them battle maps. He thought about the line he had drawn at 16, clean, straight, unbreakable. And for the first time he asked himself a different question. Was the line protecting him, or was it imprisoning him? He didn't have an answer yet. He only knew the condo was too quiet, the river kept moving, and the future, whatever shape it took, felt wider and more uncertain than it had in years. The first week without Mara felt like walking on a bridge with missing deck plates. Every step required conscious effort, and the river rushed loud below. Daniel kept the same routine. Alarm at 6:15, coffee black, protein shake with banana, 20 minutes of bodyweight exercises in the living room, squats, push-ups, planks, while the city woke outside the windows. He still favored his left leg slightly from an old high school football injury, but the movement was smoother now. No pain flares, no limp, just habit. He showered, dressed in dark jeans and a charcoal Henley, opened his laptop at the kitchen table. Structural analysis software loaded. A pedestrian bridge retrofit in Shadyside needed new load ratings for increased foot traffic. He ran the numbers. Steel girders checked out. Concrete deck needed minor reinforcement. He sent the report to the project manager with a single line. Good to go. Let me know if you want the full calc package. The reply came 20 minutes later. Thanks, Dan. Solid work as always. Hey, everything okay? You've been quiet in the group chat. Daniel stared at the message. He had muted the team channel 3 days earlier. No one had noticed until now. All good. Just focused. He hit send before he could overthink it. The condo was too quiet without Mara's laugh, without her humming while she watered the plants, without the soft clatter of her laptop keys when she worked late. He kept expecting her to walk out of the bedroom in yoga pants and one of his old t-shirts, hair in a messy knot, asking if he wanted eggs. She didn't. He didn't text her. She didn't text him. On the 8th day, he found one of her earrings under the couch, a small silver hoop, the kind she wore when she wanted to look effortlessly put together. He held it in his palm. It was light, insignificant. He set it on the kitchen windowsill next to the half-dead succulent she'd forgotten to take. The plant was brown at the edges. He watered it anyway. That night he sat on the balcony with a beer he didn't finish. The Allegheny moved dark and steady below. Streetlights reflected in broken shards on the water. He thought about Ray again, not the broken man in the folding chair, but the earlier Ray. The one who used to hoist Daniel onto his shoulders at Pirates games and say, "Look, kid, PNC Park, best view in baseball. Don't ever let anyone take that from you." Daniel had let someone take something from him, not the condo, not money, something quieter, trust in permanence, faith that love could outlast paperwork. He finished the beer, went inside, lay on the couch staring at the ceiling until sleep took him. Work kept him steady. The Shadyside Bridge retrofit moved to permitting. A new project landed, an adaptive reuse of an old rail trestle into a multi-use path. He liked the challenge. Retrofitting meant working with what already existed. You couldn't tear it down and start over. You had to understand the bones, find the weak points, reinforce without destroying the character. He thought about Mara while he ran load paths on the computer. She had once said the same thing about people. You don't fix someone by replacing them, she'd told him after he'd confessed, late one night, half drunk on bourbon, about Ray. You reinforce what's already there, you shore up the weak spots, you don't pretend the damage never happened. He hadn't listened, or maybe he had, and still chose the line. Week 3. He went to the gym alone for the first time since she left. Same elliptical, same playlist. He pushed harder than usual. Sweat stung his eyes. His legs burned. He kept going until the machine beeped at 30 minutes. He didn't stop. 45. An hour. The gym emptied around him. He stayed until closing. The attendant, young guy, earbuds in, finally tapped his shoulder. We're locking up, man. Daniel nodded, wiped his face with the hem of his shirt, walked home in the cold. He showered, ate leftover stir-fry standing at the counter, looked at the succulent on the windowsill. It was still brown, but a tiny green shoot had appeared at the base. He watered it again. On the last day of the month, he received an email from the property manager. Rent was due. He paid it electronically, same as always. No joint account, no shared responsibility, just his name on the lease. He stared at the confirmation screen. For the first time, the solitude felt less like freedom and more like a cage he had built himself. He opened his phone, scrolled to Mara's contact. Thumb hovered over the message icon. He didn't type anything. He locked the screen, set the phone face down, went to bed. Sleep didn't come easy. He dreamed of Ray, not the broken man, but the young Ray, laughing, flipping burgers, Cheryl leaning against him, fingers on his neck. In the dream, Daniel was small again, watching from the yard. He tried to walk toward them. His legs wouldn't move. He looked down. Concrete encased his feet. Steel rebar wrapped his ankles like cuffs. He woke sweating. 3:47 a.m. The city was quiet except for the low hum of the HVAC. He got up, walked to the living room, sat on the couch. The model bridge still sat on the coffee table. The loose cross member lay beside it. He picked it up, turned it over in his hands. Then, very carefully, he began to glue it back in place. The weeks after Mara left stretched into a gray sameness that Daniel had once called peace. He woke at 6:15, made coffee, did his exercises, opened the laptop, ran numbers, sent reports, ate dinner alone at the kitchen table, watched the river darken outside, went to bed, repeated. The condo no longer felt too quiet. It felt correct, the way a bridge felt correct when every load path balanced, every member carried exactly what it was designed to carry. No excess, no weakness, just equilibrium. He told himself this was better. Work flowed. The Shadyside retrofit received final approval. The rail trestle conversion moved to bidding. A new proposal landed, an expansion of an existing footbridge over the Monongahela, wider deck, higher railings, LED lighting for night use. He liked the project. It meant more people walking safely, more people seeing the city from above instead of through windshields. He didn't think about Mara during the day, not consciously, but she appeared in small ways. The succulent on the windowsill had perked up. The green shoot was now 3 leaves tall. He watered it every Sunday. The silver hoop earring still sat beside it. He hadn't moved it. One Tuesday in December, he came home to find a package at the door. No return address. Just his name in neat block letters. Inside was a book, The Design of Highway Bridges by Barker and Puckett, 3rd edition. A post-it note stuck to the cover. Thought you might like the new edition. Greater than M. No signature, no phone number. Just the initial. He opened the book. The binding cracked softly. Fresh ink smell. He flipped to the chapter on fatigue and fracture. A folded receipt slipped out. Coffee from the place they used to go on Saturday mornings. Dated 3 days before she left. He stared at it a long time. Then he placed the book on the shelf beside his old textbooks. Didn't read it. Didn't throw it away. That night he dreamed of Ray again. This time, Ray was young, standing at the grill in the backyard. Cheryl beside him. Daniel, small, 12, watched from the grass. Ray turned, spatula in hand, and said, "You gonna stand there all day, kid, or you gonna help?" Daniel tried to move. His feet were rooted, concrete again. But this time he looked down and saw the rebar wasn't cuffs. It was the same steel mesh he used in bridge decks. Strong, necessary, but fixed in place. He woke with his heart hammering. 3:12 a.m. The city was asleep. The river reflected streetlights in long silver streaks. He got up, walked to the living room, sat on the couch. The model bridge was still there, the cross member he'd glued back on held firm. He touched it, solid. He opened his phone, scrolled to Mara's contact again. Thumb hovered. This time he typed, "Greater than I got the book, thank you." He stared at the message for 2 minutes, deleted it, locked the screen, went back to bed. January came cold and gray. Snow fell in heavy, wet flakes that stuck to the river bridges and made the city look softer than it was. Daniel worked longer hours. The footbridge expansion bid went out. He reviewed submittals, checked calculations, flagged a few undersized gusset plates. Routine, reliable. On a Friday, his project manager emailed, "Dan, client wants a site visit next week. Can you go? It's just the Monongahela span. Quick walkthrough." Daniel stared at the screen. He hadn't been on a job site in years, not since before Ray died, not since he started refusing anything that felt like permanence. He typed back, "Sure, send the details." The site was a narrow stretch of riverbank under the existing bridge. Snow had melted into mud. Orange cones lined the access road. A small crew was setting up survey stakes. The project manager, Tom, was already there, hard hat on, clipboard in hand. "Glad you could make it," Tom said, clapping him on the shoulder. "Client's nervous about the new railing loads. Wants your eyes on the existing abutments." Daniel nodded, pulled on his own hard hat, walked the site. The bridge was older than he'd expected. 1930s riveted steel, wide enough for 2 lanes, but used mostly for pedestrians now. The girders were painted battleship gray, peeling in places. He ran his hand along one flange. Solid. No visible corrosion. He checked the bearings. Grease still present. No excessive settlement. He crouched beside an abutment, took measurements with a tape, ran numbers in his head. The concrete was cracked, but not spalled. Rebar visible in a few spots, but no major section loss. He stood. "It'll take the additional load," he told Tom. "Maybe add some fiber wrap on the worst cracks, but the bones are good." Tom grinned. "That's what I wanted to hear." They walked back to the truck. Tom talked about the timeline. Daniel half listened. He kept glancing at the river. A woman was jogging along the path on the opposite bank. Red coat, dark hair in a ponytail. For a second he thought it was Mara. It wasn't. He looked away. Back at the condo, he showered off the mud, made dinner, chicken and rice, same as always. Ate standing at the counter. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Mara. Greater than I got a new phone, old number got shut off." Greater than just wanted to say I'm okay. Hope you are too. He stared at the screen, reread it twice, typed, "Greater than I'm okay." "Glad you're okay." He hit send before he could second guess. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Greater than I miss you." He exhaled slowly. "Greater than I miss you too." Dots again. Then nothing. He set the phone down, walked to the balcony. The river was black under the moon. Bridge lights glowed steady. He thought about the line again. Thought about Ray. Thought about the woman in the red coat who wasn't Mara. Thought about the text still open on his screen. He didn't reply again that night. But he didn't delete the thread either. The silence after Mara's text lasted 11 days. Daniel didn't reply, not because he didn't want to, because every draft he typed felt like stepping onto a bridge he hadn't inspected. Too much weight, too soon. He saved them all in notes, deleted them the next morning, repeated. Work carried him forward. The Monongahela footbridge expansion broke ground in late February. He drove to the site twice a week. Hard hat, steel toes, clipboard. He walked the abutments with the contractor, checked rebar placement, signed off on concrete pours. The river smelled of diesel and wet earth. The new deck beams arrived in sections, riveted together on-site like an old-fashioned truss. He liked watching them go up, piece by piece, load-tested, permanent. One afternoon in March, the foreman, a man named Tony, mid-50s, forearms like hams, nodded toward the half-finished span. "Looks good, huh?" Daniel leaned on the railing. "Looks solid." Tony spat into the river. "You ever get married, Dan?" Daniel's grip tightened on the rail. "No," Tony chuckled. "Smart. My ex took the house, the truck, half my pension, left me the dog and the bills. Dog died last year. Bills still coming." Daniel looked at him. "You regret it?" Tony shrugged. "Regret's a waste of time. I got 2 kids who still talk to me. That's more than some guys get." He clapped Daniel on the shoulder and walked off to yell at a welder. Daniel stayed on the bridge a while longer. Wind off the water was cold. He thought about Ray, thought about the folding chair, thought about Mara's text still sitting unread in his phone. That night he opened it again. "Greater than I still love you." He stared at the words until the screen dimmed. Then he typed, "Greater than I still love you too." "Greater than can we talk?" He hit send before the doubt could catch up. She replied in under a minute, "Yes." "Greater than when?" They met at the coffee place they used to go on Saturday mornings. Neutral ground, public, safe. She arrived first. Same dark hair, same crooked smile. She wore a green coat he'd bought her for Christmas 2 years earlier. The sight of it hit him harder than he expected. He sat across from her, ordered black coffee. She ordered tea. They didn't speak for a minute. Just looked at each other like people who had once known every line of the other's face and were now relearning them. "You look good," she said. "You too." She wrapped her hands around the mug. "I didn't think you'd text." "I didn't think I would either." She looked down. "I'm sorry about the ultimatum. I was scared. I thought if I pushed hard enough you'd see what I saw, that we could be permanent, that the risk was worth it." Daniel nodded slowly. "I know why you did it. I just couldn't cross that line." "I know." She met his eyes. "I'm not asking you to cross it now." He waited. "I'm asking if there's still room for me on your side of the line," she said. The question hung between them like a cable under tension. Daniel thought about Ray, thought about the folding chair, thought about the bridge outside the window, old steel holding new weight without complaint. He thought about the succulent on his windowsill, now thriving with 5 green leaves. He thought about the earring still on the sill, untouched. He reached across the table, took her hand. "There's room," he said. "But the line stays. No paper, no contract, just us, day by day, if that's not enough." "It's enough," she interrupted. "For now. For as long as it stays enough." He exhaled. Something in his chest loosened, not broke, just loosened. They talked for 3 hours, about the bridge project, about her new rooftop garden downtown, about Rue's successor, a rescue golden named Scout who chewed everything but the furniture, about Ray, about the folding chair, about how grief doesn't leave, it just learns to sit quietly beside you. When they left the coffee shop, it was snowing again, soft flakes that melted on contact. She slipped her hand into his coat pocket. They walked to the river path, stood under the Monongahela span he'd helped expand. The new deck gleamed under the lights. Cars passed overhead. Pedestrians walked below. Daniel looked at her. "I'm not promising forever," he said. "I'm not asking for forever," she answered. "I'm asking for tomorrow and the day after. We'll figure out the rest when we get there." He nodded. They stood there until the snow stopped. Then they walked home, her hand still in his pocket, the city quiet around them. The condo smelled like coffee and wet coats when they stepped inside. Scout bounded over, tail whipping. Daniel knelt, carefully, and let the dog lick his face. Mara laughed. "He missed you." "He missed the treats," Daniel said. She hung her coat, looked at the succulent on the sill. "You kept it alive." "Barely," he said. "I watered it when I remembered." She touched one leaf. "That's enough." Later they sat on the couch. Scout sprawled between them. The model bridge, fully repaired, sat on the coffee table like a small monument. Mara leaned her head on his shoulder. "I'm not going to ask again," she said quietly. "I know. But if you ever want to cross that line," he kissed the top of her head, "I'll let you know." She smiled against his shirt. They didn't speak after that. They just sat. The river moved outside. The city lights flickered on. Scout snored. Daniel looked at the woman beside him, at the dog, at the bridge model he'd fixed. He thought about Ray one last time, not with grief, but with something softer. Understanding, maybe. Forgiveness for a man who had loved hard and lost harder. He thought about the line he'd drawn at 16. It was still there, but now there was space on both sides of it. And for the first time, he wasn't afraid to let someone stand close to it. The moral: love without contracts is possible, but only if both people choose to stay every day. Modern-day Aesop. Subscribe for more ancient wisdom for the modern world.